Neighborhood News Studio, and we have a special guest for you tonight, the one and the only Ann Vandersteel. How you doing tonight, Ann?
Great, George. It's awesome to be on your channel. I'm like so humbled and I'm starstruck.
Oh, wow. Okay, this is a mutual admiration. The reason I called you tonight and I said, hey, we're going to do a pre-election show, and we're a swing state. We're actually between two swing states, and in Michigan here and Ohio, and we're tracking the three bellwether counties and so forth. And then you told me you're doing a show tomorrow, which is kind of a marathon, a 5-hour. You're in the West Coast out in Nevada, right? Is that
correct?
GOP headquarters and all that sort of thing?
Well, they're doing a big event down at the South Point Resort in South Las Vegas, and become in contact with Jim Marchant, who's a Nevada 4's congressional candidate, highly endorsed by President Trump. The VP came out and spoke. Don Jr. yesterday. Jim's a great guy, and he's invited us to come to his event, which is at the suite next door to the GOP events. So it's like one big happy family. And I met Michael McDonald, who's the GOP chair for the state yesterday. Super guy, one of Jim's best friends. So all excited to have us live broadcast there. And my partner and producer Liz, who's very famous as an anonymous producer. She doesn't want to be out there because she comes from the Big Six, but she's MAGA to the core, awesome. Has really taken our show, Steel Truth, and just gave it next level production, which is awesome. I couldn't do what we do without her. It'd be impossible. But so she's come up from Arizona to make this just an outstanding event. We're going to do a lot of cool things. She's made elements for all 50 states, and we're going to be able to do man on the street interviews of all the people there. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. We'll have call-ins and everything else. Well, people can call in on an 800 number, and then we'll send them a link and pull them into the show so we can interact with the audience. I think it's going to be pretty cool.
Well, that's just great. So I want to introduce you a little bit to some of your fans here in Michigan. So I'll just go around the room here. We got a pretty big studio here. This is Aaron Adler from Neighborhood News Studio.
Hey, Aaron, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you. So nice to meet the woman who brought us Bergie. The original bringer of Bergie's message to the world, other than Bergie himself.
Yeah, that was an extraordinary. That's 2 years ago, right? In November of 2018, when I met him outside the DeSantis. I was covering that for 10 days of insanity. And he's like, hey, I've got something for you. And I'm like, okay, what's up? And he starts to tell me the story. And I just look at him. I said, you got to be kidding me. So I've got to hear more. Send me some evidence. It was legit. It still is legit. It's amazing.
World. Sorry. Yeah, it's changed the way I look at the world. It really has.
No, it really. I went to Florida to his house and interviewed him a couple of times, and it really he got launched, and so he finally got his interview with Fox and all that good stuff. So you may or may not recognize this up and coming YouTube star here. This is Addy Ads of Brand New Tube and also YouTube.
Nice, very nice to meet you, Addy.
Nice to meet you, Ann. I was aware of this interview about 10 minutes ago, so unfortunately I'm not as prepared as I normally.
So was I. We're on the same page.
All of our guys here are, just came from moving stuff and doing stuff for the election and so forth. So, and knocking doors and all that stuff. And so Dave Underdown is one of our research analysts, and he's probably the director of research. And
hey, Dave.
Hello. Yeah, he lives in one of the swing counties, which is Oakland County. So, and up in near Detroit area.
That's right. Yep. So everybody remembers M&M and 8 Mile. So that's the border between Wayne County and Oakland County, where I live. So
sure. Wow.
So we'll have people in all the swing counties in Michigan and 2 of the swing counties in Ohio. If you want to check in with us, and
you bet.
During tomorrow night, and then our sound man over here and general make it happen guy like I can't remember her name.
Liz.
That's Andy over there. Producer.
Nice to meet you. Producer Liz, nice to meet you, Andy. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a frat house here, as you can see.
I love it.
But we like it that way, and we're having fun. So the first question I wanted to ask you, Ann, is you made this big move from one swing state to another. You moved from Florida, and I saw there was a bunch of rumblings on Twitter. Oh my God, we're losing Ann in a swing state, and then you moved to Nevada, and then everyone out there was, oh, she's going to be with us though over here. So when did you make the move?
Well, so it's my husband's business. Actually, he's working with a company called Gigacrete, and you're going to hear more about this company because as President Trump's infrastructure play starts to really, take hold in the next 4 years, Gigacrete is revolutionizing the entire building industry. They've got a product that it's first of all, it has blown away and broken the Miami-Dade hurricane machine. You can't blow it down. You can't burn it down. It's fireproof, as evidenced in the Paradise Valley home fires in California, where 200 homes burned, except one man who had a mansion made out of Gigacrete, and he got stuck in the fire trying to flee, turned around, ran home, and he was like, okay. And he literally filmed the fire come right up the canyon, burn everything in its way, and go right over his house and leave his house unscathed. And it's survived, the only house that survived Dorian and Hurricane Maria in the Caribbean. And there's several homes built in the Caribbean made out of this structure, and it's bulletproof to a 30 caliber bullet at 30 feet. So wow. It's a very unique proprietary blend of this what they call stucco max and plaster max, and it's amazing. And you can make roof tiles out of it, flooring, walls, interior, exterior. You can make furniture out of it. It's really cool stuff, and you can make it look like anything you want. It's like just totally revolutionary. And guess what? It only cost 1/3 of traditional building costs.
I'm playing a nursery school story in my head with the Three Little Pigs, only it's the Three Little Antifa bands. Mm-hmm. Some has Elon Musk flamethrowers, and other ones have machine guns, and they're trying to take down your house in the Gigacrete, and you're just laughing away because you decided not to go with straw, but you went with Gigacrete. So I'm not getting paid for any endorsement.
No, this is not a paid advertisement at all. This is it's just a really cool kind of thing. And the reason that he's with Gigacrete is because of the work I did with Fast and Furious. A gentleman that knew of Gigacrete said, they were looking for someone to help, with the company. And so they knew about what my husband could do. So I introduced him, and it was one of those things, I really have never made any real money doing what I do because I'm just so focused on content. I've never put the business sense behind it all. And I have 2 children in the military, so this has been my service for the last 4 or 5 years doing this. But this is sort of how I think MAGA pays you back, right? You meet the right people and the most amazing people in our movement like I've never met before. I've lost family and friends that I've known my whole life and met people that have just absolutely blown me away with just their heart and their mind and their soul and spirit of love of country. But also, hey, this is how we got it. Our country's built on capitalism, so it's okay to make a buck. You know what I mean? So
sure. Well, especially if
really
you're
grateful.
If you're a third of the price, or whatever, even if you're the same price, but it's a better product.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm for that, and I think we have a lot better chance with anything with private industry than Joe Biden's welfare state. Do you want to say throw in there?
Hey, we love business. We're a little retail location here. I had to reinvent our little 2,000 square foot retail location here to make it the George Webb Neighborhood News Hour newsroom.
That's awesome.
It was the Neighborhood News Hour for many years. I just was a George Webb super fan. So we brought him here and made him a studio.
Super cool.
If you'll let us, Ann, I'll bet we could make you your own Neighborhood News Hour studio. There's probably some retail over there in Nevada we could snag up. And
you know what? That we will talk about that. I'd definitely be interested in that.
George
Absolutely.
Building studios. Give George 4 hours and he'll build you a studio just as good as CNN.
Well,
I love it.
Aaron calls himself the Super Jew, and with good reason. He's always pushing. He's always, and we're all reading our Torahs on in the morning. So don't worry.
That's awesome.
Well, who she had on lately was Roseanne Barr.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's another interviewee. George loves Roseanne. He was very honored to follow Roseanne on another show recently, and he was very pumped when we told him. I don't know if he's caught your Roseanne interview recently.
No, I haven't seen that one yet. Yeah.
I was on her channel on Thursday. We did sort of like a Halloween dress up. It was really funny and silly. I had her on when I relaunched the show. When Liz and I got together and relaunched the show back in, when did I break my arms? I broke both my arms on June 19th. So we launched June 24th. I literally had 2 broken arms, couldn't do anything. It was a joke. But I had Roseanne Barr.
It wasn't Antifa, was it? I mean,
no, it was my 2 big dogs. I'm on the phone with a candidate from New York during her primary, and we're talking, and it was like 6:30 on a Friday night, and and the next thing you know, my big dogs have Newfoundlands, and they're behind me wrestling, and they ran right into the back of my legs. The 2 of them outweigh me easily, and both of my feet went straight up in front of me like in a pike position, And it was sort of like a suspended moment of cartoon characters when you're suspended in the air, you're looking at your feet going, this isn't going to end well. And it didn't. So I went backwards and landed on my wrists, which didn't break, but both my elbows did. It was wicked painful.
Oh my goodness
Wow.
gracious. Sorry to hear that.
Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, you know?
Right.
That's right. MAGA, baby.
So he's had his business wiped out completely, and he doesn't miss a trick by this
I'm
coronavirus.
hanging out next to George Webb. What could be better, man? You
Yeah.
know, it's all
That's
good.
right.
Doing
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah, got the big day tomorrow, and
So we had lemons and lemonade, and we decided to go for the different demographics. We decided to play identity newscasters here, like Joe Biden with his identity politics here on the last day. So we picked up Attican, the chosen one. He's the chosen one of the 20-somethings as far as so just trying to round out the demographics. So Addy has,
Perfect.
he's really picked up a lot of big interviews with mainly the folks in England. He's Sean Atwood and then Ryan Dawson and some other great big interviews.
Nice.
And he keeps getting them. We had a CIA kind of one step below the deputy director level last night. So he may look like he just graduated, but he didn't. He's got his degree in broadcast journalism, and he's just adding a great dimension to us here. So Addy, why don't you ask your question of Ann? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I guess I just like to know people's beginnings a lot if I don't know much about them. So what was the biggest motivation for doing what you're doing now? I don't know how you would describe it, whether it's geopolitical commentating or just interviews or whatever however you describe it. When did that start, and what was the
Well, it started when I was really small, and I was very annoying because it was why, and it was a sort of an infinite question. Why? I always ask why, why. I always wanted to know what precursed what happened now. And I would go backwards to figure out the domino effect of how we got to here. And then I wanted to figure out, based on what I knew, project what could possibly happen going forward, right? I always wanted to know the result pathways of things. And that was just how I was wired. But I grew up in a very political house. My father knew President Reagan when he was Governor Reagan, and they used to correspond. In fact, you could find his letters in the book where they published all of Reagan's communications under William Vandersteel. And my mother was the first woman ever elected to a council seat in the town I grew up in northern New Jersey. And it was a very political town, and she was a real activist. So I just combined, honestly, I would help her write letters, and she put out newsletters all the time. So it was just one of those things. I studied journalism in school, and when I graduated from Boulder, a very liberal school, and I grew up very conservative, I said, there's no way I can go work on the, CNNs. They're just libtards. So back then libtard didn't exist. So they were just too far left for me. And I guess it was back in 2015 when I was doing a deal. I was actually building little micro studios for podcasters when it was first getting off the ground with some people I'd met doing some other work for another project. I said, sure, I'll help you do this. We can market this. And I got on Twitter. I had a Twitter account, never did a thing with it since 2009. 2015 decided by my business partner saying, hey, just follow the news sources you want. So I just started following random news sources, Gateway, Breitbart, that kind of stuff. And I found Bill Mitchell. I was like, this guy's good. He's really smart. So I started following him, and I started sending him donations because I thought his work was good and he was motivating me. And if he got us through the election night, because we were all in Florida freaking out. And he reached out to me one time to say thanks. And we just started DMing. He said, would you want to be a guest one night? I said, sure. And then that was how it all started. And that's when I saw George and a bunch of other people. I was like, wow, there's so much good talent out here. This is cool. And then guest appearances became regular appearances, and the rest is history. Then I launched my own show, and here we are. And I've been banned on everything: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I've got a new account here, but it's just what it is. You know how it goes. It's the same old, same old. You're just around long enough. It doesn't matter your size. People see you often enough because you've just been around. It doesn't matter the size of your account anymore. Just who's had staying power, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, that's something you and George have in common.
Never quit. Never quit.
Getting banned, yeah.
Can I make a comment?
I just want to say, George makes it sound like I plan to be a journalist or whatever we're doing. I wouldn't say I'm a journalist, even though I have been described as such. It was never a plan. It just kind of happened. But I'm really thankful to be where I'm at now with it, with George and Aaron and Dave. And it's
awesome, Addy.
Yeah, let me make one quick comment because the way I found Addy was on YouTube because he was interviewing Dr. Paul Cottrell and all these doctors. He had this doctor roundtable on coronavirus and other PhDs and so forth. There's 6-way StreamYard, and these 3 hours, 3.5 hours long, and so forth. But it was the only game in town. So if it just shows young people out there, you can get in the game if you add value. If you add value and bring the information. What'd you have? I'm sorry.
So and here we go. I'm going to set them up and you're going to knock them down. This is a little leap of faith here. But as I sit between these two guys, right, I don't want to get too far into their careers. George has this thing he talks about, good Mossad, bad Mossad. I don't know if you've ever heard him say that, right? And Addy over here is like, what? Is there even a good Mossad? He's kind of got that. But one of the people George really loves and respects, who gets a lot of heat, and I have a feeling is someone you could give us a little 90 seconds of respect for, is Jared. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you don't like Jared. I don't know.
Jared Kushner?
Yeah, like I was thinking, you and George might really come together on Jared and Ivanka. Because
I've heard her talk about Jared.
I didn't know. I don't know.
So I know she's going to say good things.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, nobody else says good things about Jared other than George here. George is
okay.
Like,
let Ed talk about this.
This is. I'm a parent, and I have children that are dating right now, and I have children that aren't dating right now. I have one that got engaged. Well, it's my husband's. It's my stepson. But here's the thing: we have thrown kids out, female and male, out of my kids' relationships. Say you're not good enough. Do you think Donald Trump, with the king of You're Fired, would let his daughter Ivanka, who he is his prized possession, be married to a guy that isn't good? That's the one, as a parent, and this is what I said the other day. I said, you don't have to look at, if you want to know who the person is, the adult is, look at their kids. Look at the Trump kids, look at the Biden kids. I rest my case. You know who the adults are in the room. Same with President Trump. Do you think he would let Ivanka, his prized child, his only daughter, well, no, Tiffany, but you know what I'm saying? His first oldest daughter. Do you think he would let her stay married to a schlub if Jared wasn't a good guy in the end?
Right. Well,
I think he's a good guy. You may not like him. You may think he's stiff or dry or whatever because he's very unanimated. But that he doesn't want to be out there in the limelight. That's not what they want to do. Some of these people just don't want to do that. He just does it because he has to when he has to, and that's that.
Well, we asked this other CIA director who was we didn't find out to the end of the interview that he was in the Trump camp. But I said, doesn't it seem like for the first 4 years it was 17-1? I mean, all 17 intelligence agencies against Trump.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah. And I said, isn't it Jared, the only guy with his backdoor or back channel to Bibi Netanyahu, sleeping on his couch for 10 years or whatever it was? That's the only way Trump gets any decent intelligence, I see Trump is like, he moved the capital to Jerusalem and everything. He's porting AIPAC and everything. So I'm like, how is it that people, and I know some very good friends of mine, Lee Stranahan and so forth, they've gotten on the, let's dog Jared thing, but I think he's doing great things for Trump. I think without him, Trump wouldn't have eyes and ears, but I'll let you.
I absolutely agree with that. I think what Jared has done is fantastic. I think Rick Grenell has also been really, really instrumental. And Rick Grenell is I love his style. I mean, he's just direct and to the point. He pulls no punches, and he's out there saying the same stuff that we are, and he just goes right to it. Same with Sidney Powell. And those are the people the president needs to bring back and have around his administration, along with General Flynn. As soon as we get past tomorrow, I think Flynn's back in. I'd love to see Powell. Maybe he's acting director at FBI, and depending on which way it goes with indictments or not, or how fast they can expedite them. Maybe she needs to step into the AG role, because look at what she's done with Flynn's case. I mean, 1 million pages of documents. She literally boom, 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 went through all that and organized it all and exposed Sullivan, boom, like literally in 6 months. We all saw what he was made of. So I think it wouldn't take her very long to get into another role and clean house quickly. And those that need not apply just leave. And that's how Sydney operates. And I'd like to see Flynn back in there. So sorry, to go back to Jared, 100% behind him. I think he's great. And I think what President Trump is doing with the Middle East could have been done a long time ago, but nobody wanted it done. They wanted those endless wars. We know the rest of that story. I mean, your followers all understand it. We don't have to break that down anymore. We've busted up the MIC, and we're taking these flag officers that wanted to stick around the military long enough so they could get the $1 million jobs as a board member or whatever. And that's not why you get into the military. That's, you either get in to serve because you believe it, or don't sign up.
One of the stories that you worked, that I worked too, and you did some great stuff, was Fast and Furious, and you were, along with me, were saying, hey, these weapons didn't stay in Mexico. They went to Benghazi. Then they seemed to, a lot of them found their way to Syria. A lot of the Stinger missiles in Libya ended up finding their way to shoot down SEALs in Afghanistan.
Right.
This is a rolling circus that we've got here, and we have an analyst here, Dave Underdown, who does the deep dives on all of our stuff. He spends a little bit of time in front of the camera, but I just wanted to know if you had any questions for Ann on any topic.
Well, I was just curious. You said that you grew up in this political family and that you like to study the history and how the dominoes fall. So my question is, what is your prediction on election eve? Do you think it's going to be the do you believe the media reports that Trump is trying to play catch up on the last day, or what's
Not at all. No, not at all. I do not believe any of that garbage. It's funny. So I'm glad you asked the question, because a very good friend of mine back in Florida called me. In fact, all my normies are calling me, despite the last 3 years of me telling them, if you're not going to watch me because it's too weird, watch this, or read this or this. I give them places to go, right? So, but they're all calling me now. And one of them had a very intelligent thing to say. He said, how many people do you think of the electorate are on social media? He's like, at least 60% on some kind of social media. I said, oh yeah, at least 60% of the electorate's on social media. He goes, so, here's an example. My girlfriend and I, or fiance, or whatever, we bought a mattress, but that was all her. I never texted her, emailed her, or talked on the phone about it. We had conversations, and she went out and bought this mattress. Next thing you know, I'm getting all these things all over my social media and emails about mattresses. I go, do you have an Alexa in your house? He said, well, yeah. I go, well, they know. He goes, I know, they know everything. I said, exactly. Social media knows. They are listening all the time. And he goes, so then social media knows that Trump's winning, right? That's why they're doing with the censorship. And I said, of course. I go, and that's why they're pushing this narrative of racial divide and tension and, race, all this stuff. And he said, so they know that Trump's won. I said, absolutely, they know that Trump's won. Look at the narrative the mainstream's pushing. Look at the narrative social media's pushing. Look at all the censorship. And I said, all this social unrest, and we're going to see probably some cities light on fire tomorrow night or whatever, or maybe the next night. There's going to be some civil unrest. I said, but it's not going to last long, because if the governors don't step up and do what they need to with their National Guard, President Trump's going to have to step in and call insurrection if these governors aren't doing what they're supposed to do to protect their people. I said, it won't last long. So to your question, yes, I think Trump's absolutely going to win. And I believe that social media is telling us everything we need to know, because they're projecting exactly what they want us to think. So this is a repeat of 2016. They have no new playbook. They need to just quit. And they need to acknowledge the fact that 99% of the people in this country are not socialists. We're just not. And fundamentally, we're not.
Well, we kind of think that's going to be the close, it's going to be another repeat of 2000 with sort of a contested election. That's kind of what we're projecting.
But it's fraud. It'll be fraud. It'll be based on fraud.
It's hard to prove that and to get the masses to buy into.
Do you think so? Do you think it's really hard? I mean, this is a question. You don't think that with the DHS, with
Dave
everything
lives in a very swing district in Oakland County, so there's a lot. He runs into people every day that the Trump derangement syndrome and so forth, but
also just with the governors already extending the the polls in certain states before anything's even election day. I feel like they're just kind of laying the groundwork for sort of a contested so I'm obviously hoping for something decisive so that we don't have to go through that kind of a process. I mean, I feel like we have so many other, major issues that, we're facing that, we need.
Okay. Yeah. I just will throw it out to you there, Ann. How do we deal with this? If they do try the fraud thing and make us think it's coming down to the Chads and the machine,
and the scorecard, you're talking about scorecard fraud?
When it stamped 1,000 cards at once, it left some Chads. I mean, come on, here at the DNC, we didn't get the best machinery. So.
Right. So I think that was why it was so important that Amy Coney Barrett, ACB, got installed before the election. And that's why she didn't challenge the stuff that was going on in some of these Democrat states with the extended time period, because her leverage is going to come in when we have to litigate the post-election results, if we have to litigate the post-election results. And I'm holding out a little bit of hope, and I'm sure you guys remember this, but after 2018, President Trump asked DHS to put a task force together about voter fraud. Do you remember that? It got very little press. It was very underreported.
The quantum, all the quantum stuff that Charlie Ward's talking about, I didn't know about the quantum.org and any of that stuff. So, yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't think Charlie's 100% sold that that's actually going to be used this time. I think he thinks it is, but he said we'll see how it turns out, because he's gotten a lot of information saying that, which would be awesome if that in fact's the case. But I remember DHS was tasked by President Trump to put a task force together and solve this problem. And from my understanding, this also coincided with the whole hoopla about the Census Bureau and asking certain questions. And President Trump said, fine, we're not going to go through with the census. But he went to all the other federal agencies to get voter data and census data on people in the country, including state-run DMVs. And we all know that some states allow illegal aliens to get some kind of an identification and/or driver's license, but it is marked as such. So I think what they're going to do is just use all this data to come together and figure out if someone's going to the polls, whether they're an illegal alien voting or they're actually a real registered voter. I think there is some sort of something they've just, based on all the different things I'm hearing, how they did it, technologically speaking, I don't know. But I feel pretty good about it.
Okay, Ann, I'm going to take a risk here. It could be, but Conservative Vine here has a question. I'm going to add him to the stream.
Okay.
So if it's Antifa, well, we'll just have to deal. But here we go. Chip, can you hear us? Unmute your mic, Chip.
How about now? Do you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you. Great.
Yeah, great. So, yeah, I do have a question for Ann. So, Ann, I started watching you with Bill Mitchell, and I was right with you because I was a Florida person. He got us through that night. We were like, what's going to happen? Is it going to win? Is he going to win? I know it's kind of weird to ask predictions, but do you think that Trump's going to have a bigger margin of victory tomorrow than he did in 2016? And if you could, do you have like a prediction of what it might look like electoral college-wise?
Well, so I definitely think he's going to have a bigger margin than he did in 2016. And the reason I think that is because you have to just look at the turnout. We didn't know in 2016 what we know now in terms of the fraud that Hillary Clinton had, predicted, or she did with her. We didn't understand. We just thought it was email fraud, right? We didn't know. We just didn't know. Now we have so much more in front of us in terms of all the crap the Bidens have done, the Clintons have done, even just the personal stuff with, say, Obama, and what seems to be coming out about his kids. It all looks so bad that I believe it's actually going to be much bigger landslide. And if I had to predict, I would say somewhere around 356 for Trump and probably 182 for Biden.
Wow. I like your prediction. That's spot on.
Chip, is it Chip?
Yeah, it is.
Hey, Chip, nice to make your acquaintance. Can I ask you what state you're calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Florida. Actually, I'm down here in Boca Raton, Florida.
Nice.
So
I wish I would have known you when I was there, but I know. It's crazy. I didn't give up my home. We have sort of a apartment set up here, and we're kind of going back and forth. But I like it out here.
I started a little channel called The Daily Narrative, and it's I have another successful channel in the cryptocurrency space. So
cool.
and I saw both you guys on Charlie Ward, which is pretty cool too. So I watch a lot of Charlie Ward. So it's really awesome. A thrill to have. Thank you for letting me jump in real quick and ask that question. So I appreciate it.
Don't go away. We're going to make you work now. We're going to ask our panel to ask a Florida question. We know you're down by Miami there. I think you're a little bit. You're in probably
Boca.
Not. You're
Boca
Raton. I'm from.
Yeah, right between Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach.
Yeah, that's where Farmer Jones, our friend down there in our newsroom down there, is. Anybody got a question, a Florida question? If I want to ask the Chad question, because I think it's just one of those things where if you're going to take votes or going to play with the votes, what you do is when you steal an election, you don't say, okay, you lost across the board, Trump, even though you're winning 60% of the poll. You make it all come down to one state like Bush.
Right.
and then you have everyone concentrate on that for 3 weeks, and then you steal it at the end. What do you think is, if it does come down to one contested state? I know Pennsylvania's out there. Addy's from Wisconsin. Do you think it may be a replay of the year 2000 with Bush v. Gore?
I think it might be, but if you look at what happened with the Attorney General, I don't know if you caught some of the tweets he was sending out there. He was basically saying that it was, no matter what happens, there's no way that Trump can win. When an Attorney General, a seated Attorney General, is coming out saying that stuff, it's very suspect, because that's somebody who's supposed to be protecting the vote. So I worry a little bit about Pennsylvania, but when it comes to Florida, I mean, that 30,000 Latino rally, and by the way, my wife is Latino as well. And it's like, when you start hearing people who logged a lot of time or had families that spent time in Venezuela or Cuba, I go back to what happened the night of the actual of the convention. We had that one gentleman on here that said, where else are we going to go? If we don't go to America, there's no place else for us to go. And I think he was absolutely spot on. And, George, you might be onto something. There absolutely could be one of the states that could hang it up. But you know what? I like Ann's prediction. I think Ann probably, if we get enough going on, because what we don't want to happen is it's going to drag on 1 day, 2 day, because they're already moving all the attorneys. They got them on standby. They're ready to push them through. So,
okay, don't go anywhere, Chip. I'm going to take one more call here. This is working out so far so good, and I think I know this caller. He's not going to let me joke. Okay, he doesn't want to be visually seen. Okay, well, let me go. If you got the URL out there and want to ask Chip a question in Florida, I love the fact we got 4 of the swing states covered here, and so I don't want to let this go right now. Aaron, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a Florida question. You want us to ask some Florida questions, right?
Sure.
You said you are in Boca. Was that right?
Yes, Boca Raton, correct.
Are you in the district? I'll set it up. You guys, one of you, I'm sure, can knock it down here. Are you in Debbie washing machine soaps?
No, I'm not. But I am in Laura Loomer's district. So I have been. Yeah.
Even better. We don't need to talk about Debbie, right? I was thinking one of you could make a comment. I'll bet Ann's got something to say about Debbie.
The post office there. Did they ever get to the bottom of that?
Yeah, well, Debbie likes to go to those post office sorting facilities Dave's mentioning at 4 a.m. in the morning, and that kind of worries you sometimes, when she's looking at the machines. But go ahead and answer the question. I'm sorry about Laura. Is Laura got a chance? That's going to be a tough one to win for Laura.
I think it's going to be tough just because it's stacked so heavily against her. When you looked at the very primary, I think primary votes, she had like 30,000 versus over 100,000. And there was it's Frankel, which I'm not a fan. What's Lois Frankel, right? She's her, Ann, right? She's not a good person. So that's but the nicest way I can put it.
BlackBerry. She's one of those BlackBerry carriers. Yeah, but
do you think that the calling out the fake Kamala Harris is going to bump Laura Loomer's chances in the election? I saw that she got some coverage for being the calling that out.
How did she know she was there? Was that an announced event? I saw that this morning, and we've been running around. I didn't have a chance to dive into that story. How did Laura Loomer happen to be there where the fake Kamala was? Because that's really amazing. Stroke of luck, frankly, unless she knew there was some fake event planned or
stretch limo. So I don't know.
Yeah,
that was wild.
Well, I think what was interesting was all the videos she put, when she had her name across it, that was really smart to watermark that, because that was videos playing like pretty much everywhere. I saw it on the local news, they were playing it. So, and the guy that was wearing, that was acting as the security detail, he had like a paintball mask on with like an earpiece in his ear. And, some people were thinking like, that doesn't even look like her. But, it's weird. You cover this part of the face. I ran into people and they're like, hey, what's up, Chip? How are you? And I'm like, I feel like an idiot because I don't see their mouth. And I'm like, they take the mask off. Oh, so I don't know. Maybe it's enough to sell it.
I don't know if it changes anybody's vote, but I don't live in Florida, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think Laura knows how to grab the headline, so she's got that PR talent. Aaron's got another question. Yeah.
So Chip, you are in Trump's district. Are you going to be voting at the same precinct? You might have to get there early because I'm sure Don's going to be there to vote in person, right? Maybe.
Well, that's what. Yeah. Well, he's a little bit further up. So they're in Palm Beach. So it's a little bit further north, about 40 minutes north of here. And I know Trump already voted because they already went. I know where he went and voted. But I did do the early vote on Saturday. The vote opened at 7. I was actually there, and I was pleasantly surprised by some of the hats that I saw. A lot of the support was very quiet because I mean it was like 10 minutes before 7, but you could just kind of see there was that. Of course, I had like my flag shirt on and people commenting here and there. Hey, I like your shirt. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But very organized, best voting experience of my life. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, if there's been close to 100 million votes already in, how do you think, Ann? Like, how do you think the turnout's gonna be tomorrow?
I think it's going to be epic tomorrow. I think there's going to be voting lines. I think it's going to be a blowout. This is an election like we've never seen. We've never seen support for any one president in the history of presidents the way we've seen support for President Trump. Spontaneous, parades and car lines and all the stuff everywhere. Never, not in the history of this country have we seen anything like this. Trump by far is the most popular president we've ever had, and he invokes that in people because they're now seeing not only the economic benefits, but they're seeing his heart right now. And, when you are watching a rally and you see outtakes of we love you, and he says, I love you back, it just gives you goosebumps. You feel like there's my dad, he loves me, or there's my grandfather or whatever. But there's my president. And this is the man that's given up everything for us. And it's becoming ever more clear. You juxtapose his body of work to the last 40 years of the establishment. It pales in comparison to how much they've ripped off this country and stuck it on us and profited and enriched themselves. And, like we've all with our own, adventures in journalism, we're exposing the waste, fraud, corruption, and abuse. And I learned some of my best techniques from James O'Keefe when I worked for him at Project Veritas. That's where I met Laura originally. And I can tell you just the Fast and Furious story alone is infuriating how, 3 of my victims all went to jail for crimes they never committed because they were all being thrown under the rug and thrown to the bus by the ATF. So President Trump has just done an incredible thing for this country in bringing that spirit back. And the only people that are complaining are the ones that are paid to do so, frankly. And the few that are unfortunately had to work too many jobs and pay taxes and just only get CNN headlines. And that's it. But I think most of the country really is starting to wake up. They may not like how he says it, but they're certainly loving what the results are. And I think they're only going to be even more surprised because I truly believe the best is yet to come. And I believe a lot of what Charlie Ward is telling us in terms of just some of the technological stuff that's coming. We've all heard this rumor. Heck, George, you remember when you and I were in our 20s, New World Order was a conspiracy theory. It's like, yeah, what's the New World Order? That sounds like a bunch of hooey. Well, holy cow, it's not. It's real. These people mean to control us like automatons. And we're fighting back.
I think when I was in my 20s, you might have been either moving from grade school into junior high or even younger.
I had no idea, but it doesn't matter. I can just tell you, when I was young, that stuff to me was sounding like it was crazy talk. Like that.
Well, Kennedy was assassinated when I was alive, so that just tells you how old I am. So Aaron's got a question. I'm sorry we got hit by the NSA there, I think, or something. I don't know what happened.
They might not even have noticed.
Oh, they might not have noticed. Okay.
I guess if I get another question, I haven't asked a bad question yet. So if we could get maybe just a remark from both of you on the big news in our little orbit this week, what you think of Tony Bobulinski. Believe him, don't believe him, super believe him, super don't believe him. George, maybe you could show him our road sign. We put a road sign out here. We got a lot of flack.
Oh, let's see it.
With the Bobulinski big guy.
Here we go.
Who do you think is? Is it Joe?
The big guy? Oh, God, of course it's Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not Joe, it's Obama, but I believe it's Joe.
Yeah.
Or as Trump said, the big man.
Kissinger.
But go ahead.
Yeah, what do you think? I won't talk.
Well, what did you think about just the, at the debate, dramatic moment, the last one in the last election was the Clinton accusers, the Bill Clinton accusers. And then this one is the Biden Blackberries, which made me feel good because I've been doing a lot of reporting on that. But what did you think just in general of the presentation? I think we got like half of what I wanted or a quarter of what I wanted rather than a bigger story.
What do I think of Bobulinski?
Yeah, just the whole thing.
Oh, the whole story. I think it's absolutely earth-shattering. It's groundbreaking. This is a massive reveal, and I think while we think this is a lot of big news, I don't even think we understand a fraction of just how disgusting this all is. I really think it's far worse than what we're being told right now. When I interviewed Matthew Tiermond, he was going through 26,000 emails of Bevan Cooney's, and he had him in 3 tranches. And I said, hey, if you need some help. He's like, no, sorry, I can't. I promised him I'd be the only one looking at his emails. But I think that, we've all heard the rumors of these awful videos on the Wiener laptop. Sidney Powell alluded to it when she gave a speech in Florida a few months ago. I've interviewed a police detective that was part of the child trafficking unit in New York City that still has friends in that unit that recovered that laptop from Anthony Weiner. And he told me firsthand what they told him was on it. And I still, it's sort of like I harken back to NWO from 20, 30 years ago. I heard that story. I'm like, it can't be true. That's just too horrific. And the more we learn about Epstein Island and Nexium and all the children being rescued now, these stories really are horrific. But I think it's just beyond what we can even want to fathom. It's certainly beyond what the typical American has even considered. So I do think Bob Alinsky's stories are all true. I trust Matthew Tiermond, who's going through Bevan Cooney's emails. He's on the board of directors for Project Veritas. He also runs openthebooks.org. He's outstanding investigative journalist. I believe all of it's all true. And then you have our own government, whatever credence you want to give in that. I'll take the private guys over the government, but they're even, saying this stuff's true. And then of course, Flynn, right? General Flynn has been asserting, his information, and his sister, Mary Flynn Neal, who's had her own run-ins through her daughter and granddaughter through CPS. So this stuff is all real. It's just we have to now manifest it into lay terms that the American public can digest it in small chunks. But I think we've sort of passed that gate now. I think it's going to start coming out really fast, and people are just going to be they're just not even going to turn on the news anymore. They're going to be super selective because it's so horrific.
Yeah, I think the thing about Bob Alinsky, I think what really impressed me when he was on with Tucker, I mean, he was recalling dates, conversations,
Yes.
referencing emails. I mean, it was astounding to me. Like that's what really kind of turned the corner for me, especially when he was talking about the full transparency. He shows up at the press conference, obviously we know that we can log into WhatsApp, right? You can log into it online, whatever, but it's the theater of it. Like here it is. Here's all my stuff. Go through it. It's full transparency. And when he came back and started referencing these dates and times, he's like, look, I did not craft an email. This email was sent to me. Then if you hear the leaked, I think, and I don't know the accuracy of it, but I've heard the leaked call where he's calling and they're saying, look, you're going to bury all of us. He's like, look, I want them to come out. I want to be cleared, because here's a guy who basically paid for his own travel, went everywhere under the guise that this business deal would actually happen. And what really happened was he was taken for a ride and they were backdooring all the money, and he gave him a chance. This is the thing. He gave him a chance to come clean. Look, just come clean, clear his name. And the other thing I think that's believable about it is he's a Democrat, right? He's only given to Democrat causes. It's not like you have any whistleblowers we've known on the Trump side, right? They've been deep down like Democrat operatives. No, this guy, he's like, look, I'm a patriot. I served. I want my name cleared. And he was already successful. He didn't need this gig, so to speak. And he's protecting his family. And anybody that would go out to know what's sitting for them after going through all that, I got to tell you, man, that's a lot of heart and soul. And that gives me the chills, because here's a guy that put his life. He's got a SEAL team protecting his family. I mean, that's what happens when you step out there and do the right thing. And he should be applauded for getting out there and getting in front of it.
Yeah.
Well,
can I ask a question? And this is something of George. I mean, George, you have really been groundbreaking on a lot of. I mean, look how you covered Hillary Clinton. Your diary of those Hillary Clinton broadcasts you did. I mean, you've sustained life-threatening stuff. You've had to, be elusive. What's it like?
And you were mentioning that there's more to the story, more to the Bobby Alinsky story. I know a certain investigative journalist who wrote a little about that.
Aaron wants to make sure I plug my book. Okay, thank you.
You got to send her an autographed copy. If she
I want one, please. Yes.
We'll trade that. Yeah, I got 7 books, 3 banned by Amazon. I think it happens. You don't get the red dot on the forehead and get the Kennedy headshot, like the old days. I think the old days with the Humpty Dumpty Society, and I'm not saying that Humpty Dumpty Society that Schiff and all his friends are in the Congress is the same one that goes back to Kennedy, but I am saying that they're not that obvious anymore. You get run over by cars, you get poisoned, lots of subtler things happen to you. So this is a risky business. It doesn't pay well, like Ann said, but at some point, everybody has that moment where I wrote a book about a guy who worked for Kennedy in the FBI and also the Joint Chiefs, where you have what I call a McDuff moment. This is the book I wrote about this guy, where you say, I don't care. I have to throw down, and throw everything in. And
right.
Tomorrow is going to be another one of those days where people are going to be asked to do the right thing versus an attempted coup, yet another rolling coup, yet another attempted coup.
And this is an organic opportunity for us to say that our dear friend John O'Loughlin at McDuff_2020, who had his channel banned a week ago. John and George are dear friends who most of us have even seen on their shows together.
Right.
The McDuff channel, he's going to be going live in 9 minutes.
Oh,
we're not going to want to.
Yeah, we don't step on
But
us.
we got 7 or 8 more minutes to go. But so you got to put the underscore in there. Anybody who's watching who's not found John yet, you've got McDuff_2020. If you don't put the underscore, YouTube won't let you see it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
That's the channel for McDuff. Yeah, that's my plug.
Well, thank you. So, Ann, do you have a book coming out? And hang around.
I don't have one. I have one sort of skeleton. I have a skeleton written for the chapters of a book I'm going to write. I've just got to slow down for 5 hot minutes and write it. But I do have one that I want to write. So it will come. I will get it done probably over this year. I'll get it done the next 6 to 8 months. But I've been, I don't know how you guys have time to write books. When do you find the time to write a book?
Well, I have a secret. I have a writing coach who is the word master, and I just did interviews with him, and then we put together. I wrote a lot of them myself, but Addy here. We have an author center here that we bring people to, and Addy can interview you remotely on his channel and get a lot of the frame, the outline done. And then we actually do book signings here at the Swing State studio.
So fun.
For all the authors. And, we could collect about 5 or 6 states here. We hit the Chicago Metro and the Cleveland and Toledo, DC, and not DC, but Chicago, Detroit. And we want authors to be successful. We have the store that's going in the front. So if you want to get your story down, Addy's your man. He just does it in a series of interviews, and all of a sudden you see a book.
Well, I'd love an interview sometime, man. That would be fantastic.
You know what, Addy? Game on. Game on.
Deal.
Because
I would love to do that.
So Addy adds ADDYADDS. He does add every day. He adds to books and authors' stories, and we're targeting, not targeting, but our target market is people like yourself who are busier than crap, and you're doing your craft, and you don't have time to sit down and take a week. It's just time. So great. We'll look forward to that.
Sometime during this dark winter or this winter of freedom. What's it going to be?
Yeah.
Winter of freedom all
Winter.
the way. Trump 2020. If this is a humanitarian election, I see this as an election that's changing and saving the world. I don't say that just with blinders on. I mean it. He is going to make so much better for everybody. And I think majority of the world is really pulling for him. They really are, because they understand the domino effect.
So, Ann, before you go, tell us, I know everyone knows, just Google Ann Vandersteel, but tell us your handle on Twitter. And then, Chip, I want you to plug your show too.
So it's my Twitter handle is my name at Ann Vandersteel, and my channel, you can find me on YouTube at Ann Vandersteel or Steel Truth. If you Google my name, you find me faster than if you search for Steel Truth on YouTube, because it will not auto predict my channel. My channel is labeled harmful and dangerous content by YouTube.
Oh no!
But I still have it. But I'm also on the Global Financial Wealth Network. It's a smart TV channel that's actually goes out into 70 million homes, and you can go to gfwn.tv if you want to see it on the live stream on the web, or you can go to Global Financial Wealth Network on your smart TV.
Great.
And I'm there.
And Chip,
weeknights.
Chip, you're obviously the Daily Narrative.
The Daily Narrative. Yeah, the Daily Narrative. We just started it, but you can find our cryptocurrency channel. We talk about geopolitical stuff and how it kind of, and freedom and a lot of that stuff. That's called On the Chain Live and On the Chain. So we've got about 8,000 subscribers there. But this one we just started, the Daily Narrative. My partner Jeff and I started this. And I want to say, really, George, what a thrill it is to be on with you. I mean, I followed you for years. Your investigative work is amazing. And Ann, what a thrill to, and again, maybe we'd like to interview. Let's get a few more subs. I think we only have like a handful, but again, it's something.
I don't never measure a journalist by their subscriber account. You never know what they've been through, right, George?
Oh, yeah. I've been deplatformed so many times. I feel like I was mama thrown from the train,
That's right. That's right. I don't worry about that stuff.
So everybody go over, support McDuff 2020, support Vandersteel tomorrow night, 5 hours of marathon election coverage. Is that the same channel as your channel, Ann, tomorrow night?
Yeah, it's going to be on the YouTube channel on Steel Truth and the Global Financial Network, Periscope, all that good stuff. But we will definitely connect with you tomorrow. And if it's okay, we'd love to connect with you also and down at the Daily Narrative and see what's going on in Florida.
Would love to.
We got 4 of the states covered here. This is awesome. Thank
you. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Addy, call me.
Call me. All right. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, so great. We're going to bring in one more guest here, and we're just hopefully we have a chance to. Oh no, we don't have a camera there, so we can't bring them in. Okay.
Well, John's live in 3 minutes.
John's live in 3 minutes. Hey,
John's
everybody,
live.
go over and pick up, check out the Daily Narrative with Chip, and go to McDuff tonight. I think he's reading a Doug Valentine book.
Reading a Doug Valentine
which
book.
is the Wolf book, which is another great Doug Valentine book. Of course, Doug Valentine has the Phoenix program. He also has the TDY book. And I just love Doug. He's a great guy. So see
Strength
Doug.
of the Wolf.
Strength of the Wolf.
Strength of the Wolf.
Strength of the Wolf. Go to McDuff. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chip.